to the Let's Talk About It with Keola podcast. On this podcast, we have open minded, occasionally emotional, and thought provoking conversations about topics that hopefully will lead to some new perspectives. Let's talk about the reasons.
I was trying to start the timer. Go ahead. Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about the reasons a woman should know her worth. Let's get into it. Today I have a special guest with me, my daughter, Sydney.
Hello.
Thank you so much for joining me today, sweetheart. And so we want to talk about something that's really important to me as a woman. I think we need to know our worth. It's something that really concerns me because as a woman, I've learned that it is definitely something that, would you agree that most women at some point either don't know their worth, and you can kind of tell from your interaction with them that they don't know it, and you can kind of tell me, what do you think about that? What do you think about women in general just not knowing their worth, and what have you learned so far about women not knowing their worth? Because you're still young, so I'm an OG, so my perception is a little bit different.
Personally, I think for me, I feel like both of my parents did a good job of instilling worth in me, but I think that, like the term says, it's self-worth. So I think you can tell somebody what they are, but it takes them actually believing it themselves for them to be able to walk into that and kind of embody it. So for me, everybody doesn't have that luxury of where their parents speak life into them. So I was one of the ones that had that as a child, but even having that, it really took me learning and discovering myself what my worth was. Kind of like my worth isn't depending on what somebody else tells me it is. It's what I feel like my worth is. So kind of navigating that from a child to now, I'm in my early, what you would say, adulthood. I've come a long way, I feel like, but it's definitely been a journey. I wouldn't say that where I am today is where I was a year ago.
Okay. And so for her, I think it was important for me to instill that in her because I grew up in a generation where they didn't tell you that. My parents didn't teach me about self-worth. So I kind of had to learn that and develop that by trial and error. No one told me that. No one sat me down and said, you are kind, you are beautiful, you are smart, you can do it. I was told, you can do anything you put your mind to. But as far as self-worth, we weren't having those conversations when I was growing up. So I had to learn that on my own. And I had to learn that no person, no thing, no career, no material thing defined me. I had to just establish that on my own because if I connected myself to a thing or a person or a title or a job and that thing was taken away from me, then my value was diminished. So I had to establish my own identity. I had to establish my own worth. So when I had a family, when I had children, I wanted them to know what their worth is, and it's not tied to a person, place, or thing. And sometimes that's hard to identify. Would you agree?
Oh, definitely. I think a lot of women, what we fail to realize is that most of our worth comes from what we feel like people think. So if someone says, you're not that, if someone was brought up in an environment where all they heard their entire life was, you're not beautiful, you're not, you're never going to be anything, you're never, and the people around them, they may look nothing like them. So it's their idea of worth or their idea of beauty is something that they may not actually look like, but you have to stand firm into who you actually are and say, you know what, I may not look like everybody else. Somebody has told me that I'm not worth anything, but I know I am. Regardless of what the beauty standard is, regardless of what somebody else has said, is worthy, I'm worthy as well. But I think that's a really hard place to get to when you've been told or showed different.
And I think one of the things that I admire about the artist Lizzo, I've heard her on numerous occasions take a stand on that, and she decided she was going to stand on that she doesn't look like other performers, and as a child, she was told or made to feel like because she wasn't thin, because she didn't look like other people, that the slim people, the thin people were the people that were beautiful. And so she made a position, a lane for herself, that she is beautiful. I think she's a beautiful lady. I think her personality within itself just kind of illuminates her in general, but I think she's a beautiful person in general. Outside of that, her features are beautiful. And so I think going against the grain in general, saying, okay, maybe my parents or the people in my circle told me I was stupid. Maybe the people in my circle told me I look different, so I'm not attractive. Or, if I'm a male, maybe I'm shorter than the other males in my family. Or maybe if I'm an African American, African Americans aren't as smart as, other cultures of people. Maybe if I'm a darker female, maybe I'm not as beautiful as the lighter skinned females. Or maybe if I am a lighter skinned female, I'm not as attractive. Or maybe if I'm a slim female, I'm not as curvy. But nobody gets to define that for you. You get to define your own beauty. You get to define your own worth. And your job doesn't define that. Your car, your house, how much income you have, your jewelry. Because guess what? If you lost all of that, that means your worth is tied to those things that you have. So what if you lost your job? So does that mean you're no longer valuable? What if your income changed? So that means you're no longer worth anything because your income is not there. And I think as a woman, if you don't know what you're worth, then now you tend to gravitate to men who seem to have like a radar to know when women don't know what you're worth, and they tend to prey on the women who don't know that. So now they're going to treat you like you're subservient. So they're going to take advantage of the fact that you don't know. So they're going to treat you less than. So they tend to, I don't know, that's just weird to me that men seem to know the women who don't know what they're worth. It's like they have a radar that they can pick that up, and they're like, she don't know what she's worth, so I'm getting ready to really take advantage of her, and because she doesn't know that. And so, like, have you noticed that? Have you noticed?
Oh yeah,
have you seen that before?
For sure. I've definitely seen it. I think a lot of it is that the men themselves, like, it's like almost like not to say a predator, like a child predator, but like a predator in a sense, yeah. Right? To think of that, a man who can sense a woman that would tolerate something because she isn't really aware of who she is, or she may be aware of it, but she hasn't come to the point of where she can command it because she is aware of it. Mm-hmm. There's a difference between like knowing something and then saying, okay, but because I do know better, I'm gonna do better. Right. So there are some women that know, like, yeah, I can do that, but they rather not. Right. So I think it's just those men, once they realize that she's one of those women that I can do what I want to do.
I can run game.
And they're gonna run it.
Run it.
Play you like a piano.
And so then you have to say, shut the piano and break the
right, because I know who I am, and I would rather eat alone, right, than to eat at a table where it's not serving me.
Stop taking the crumbs. You know what I'm saying? And I know that it's a process to get there. So no judgment on anyone that is not there, because I still love you anyway. Even if you're not there. But please understand that it's not somewhere you have to stay. work on it, if it means going to counseling, if it means reading books, if it means going to get some type of, counseling from your church, if it means reading self-help books, if it means going to support groups, if it means connecting with other boss females who've made it through that and who've reached the other side of that and who now understand what their worth is. And I'm not talking about the attitudey females that have this air about themselves, that are unreachable, that are on this plateau, that are now men haters. Not those females. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the women that are still ladies, that are still feminine, that are still, they just know what they're worth, and they're gonna stand in their position as a female, but not allow a man to mistreat them because they know who they are. They know they are the Proverbs 31 women. And if you don't know what that is, get your Bible and go turn to Proverbs 31 and read it, and you'll understand who and what we are and what we represent. But for sure, work towards that, because once you know that, your life will begin to flourish in a way unlike anything you've ever seen. And I'm so grateful to know that my daughter knows who she is, knows what she's worth, and in seeing her dating and knowing that a guy has to bring a certain amount of credentials to the table to be able to entertain her, because she's worthy of that. Not because she thinks she's better than anybody, not that anybody's beneath her, but because she's worthy. She's a precious jewel. And because because she does know her worth. And so if a man is a real man standing in his position as a man, that's what he should be looking for. He should want a woman who knows her worth, because he knows his position as a real man, as a king, as a person who's looking for that type of woman, because you shouldn't want baggage. You know what I mean? And so I think that oftentimes women think that, well, I'd rather have a crumb. So as long as I got a man, as long as my bed is warm at night, okay, get you one of those bed warmers. The things that you plug up. What are they called? Mattress warmers, bed warmers. The things that you plug up to keep the bed warm.
Like for cramps?
No, a heating pad.
A heating pad.
Yeah, get you a heating pad or something to keep your bed warm until you get yourself together. But don't just take anything.
Get you some pillows.
Something worthy. Get you a pregnancy pillow. Any of that. You know what I'm saying? Just get you something to get you until you arrive. But don't take anything. You're just worth so much more than that. God created you special. We're some kingdoms fall for us. Please understand it. Please believe it. So don't put yourself in a position that you don't have to be. Know what you're worth. Walk in your position, because you've been created for some divine stuff. And so you have a position. There's a man out there who's looking for you specifically, but he's not looking for a broken you. He's not looking for a you who doesn't know who you are. He's not looking for a woman who hasn't healed yet. He's not looking for a woman who will just take any old thing. He's not looking for a woman who's willing to take a crumb, because there are some guys out there who just looking for somebody who will just sleep with them and say, okay. And I know I've heard of, some females who are just like, I don't want to be in no relationship. I just want somebody to sleep with. That's because you don't know, but that's because you don't really know what you're worth. And you probably at some point have been hurt or disappointed. And so you're afraid to require anything else.
Ruh-roh.
Uh-oh. So if you required anything else, then you would say, I might get disappointed.
The girl's going to get upset about that one.
They are?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, you know what?
But keep talking.
Okay. So so we don't want you to do that. We want you to rise above. We want you to be different, because guess what? The rare jewels are the real prize. Okay. you're worth something. Everybody that looks the same, that's not what the real value is. The real value are the rare jewels. So everybody who looks the same are not the ones who are worth anything, right? So we want you to be the rare jewels, okay? And if you want to be over there with everybody who looks the same, go ahead. I still love you anyway. No judgment, okay? But if you want something different, you want to be something, you're tired of being over there in that group, come over to this lane, okay? Decide that you want more. Decide that you want to know what it's like to be treated like you are something. And it doesn't matter what your parents told you, it doesn't matter what the people in your circle told you. You are worthy of more. God loves you. We love you. I don't even know you personally, but because God lives on the inside of me, and so because he does, I love you as an individual, and I believe that you're worthy of love, and so you should love yourself. And what do what else?
Well, I
do
kind
you
of have a question though. What would you say? Because you're older than me. You're my mom.
You ain't have to be telling the people.
I said older than me. I would
watch
hope
the
you are
word
as my
older.
mom.
Well, I'm sensitive about that.
Older?
Mm-hmm.
I said older than me.
Okay. We ain't gonna fight on the camera. Come on.
But what would you say to the women who are older and still don't know their worth? Because there are some ones, they didn't get it at 20, they didn't get it at 30, they didn't get it at 40, they didn't get it at 50, they didn't get it at 60, 70, 80.
That grieves my spirit. That grieves my spirit. So what I do know for sure, if you still have breath in your body and your faculties, your mental state is still working and you can still understand, it's not too late. It's not too, if you're still able to understand and comprehend, that means you still have an opportunity to get healed from whatever happened to you to cause you to not establish your worth and your value, and you missed it. Whatever happened to you at your 10-year-old, 5-year-old, 3-year-old self, you need to decide to get set free from it so you can spend the remainder of your time here on earth healed, whole, happy, and living your best life, knowing that you are worthy and worth more than you've ever known before. You can decide today, this moment, hey, I want to find out what it's like to know what I'm worth. But you got to make a decision to say, I want to be healed and set free from whatever I've been living like in the past. And I think it's not too late. I do think it's not, but you got to make a decision to want more, because you can. And I think a lot of times we're creatures of habit. And I'm sorry, guys, our dog has insisted on being in this episode. Please forgive him. Does anybody want a beagle? He's so disrespectful. He's a disrespectful beagle because he has literally jumped up on her leg. Do y'all see him?
I hope not.
I hope not. He's a disrespectful beagle. Like, he's been trying to get in every episode. But like this one, he's just... Anyway, but I think that because we're creatures of habit, people just tend to hold on to, well, this is how I've been. This is what I know. I don't know anything else. This is the way I've always dealt with it. I've been conditioned to just stay in this environment. Well, I didn't know I could stop feeling this way. I didn't know I could move in life any differently. So I'm just going to continue to allow myself to be treated this way. I'm in a relationship with somebody I've been in who's never treated me like I'm worth anything. And this is all I know. This is all I've ever dealt with. But, if you're 75, if you're 80, you can finish out your days on earth, though, knowing that you're worth something. You can make a decision to say, it stops now. I'm not going to finish out my life like this, and make a decision to deal with whatever brought you to that place in your life so you can finish out your life, in a happier place. But I definitely want to tell you guys that it's not too late. It definitely is not too late.
Agreed.
It's
like
not.
You said, as long as you have breath in your body.
You can make a change. You can stop it. But there you have it. I want to thank you guys for listening today. I want to thank you, Sydney, for joining me. I hope you guys enjoyed our episode today. And ladies, please know that you need to make a decision to make a change, to start doing things to establish your worth. And if you're in a relationship that's abusive, seek help, whether it's physical or emotional, and make a decision to change the lane that you're in, to get into a lane, to start doing things that are going to help you establish your worth. For full episodes, make sure you're subscribing on YouTube and Spotify. And to stay connected, make sure that you are following me on Instagram and TikTok. And remember, I love you without judgment. And take care and see you next time. Bye. Ta-ta.